Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be looking at action, sci-fi anime called Btoon. In the world of Btoon, a video game that has sold over 3 million copies worldwide, players don't use guns to destroy their enemies, but instead rely on bombs. Within this virtual world, Ryuta Sakamoto, an unemployed 21-year-old, holds the esteemed position of being the strongest and most respected player. He is even married in the game, solidifying his status as a true virtual champion. Sakamoto is sucked into a tropical environment which looks suspiciously like the game. He sees a green crystal embedded in his hand and stumbles upon his bag, which contains supplies of bombs and a bottle of tea. As he reminisces, he gets vivid flashbacks of his mother's desperate attempt to get him a job at a grocery store, which he promptly refused as he had his sights set on a different job. However, his thoughts are interrupted when he discovers that there are bombs in his bag. Uncertain of their origin or purpose, he tries to distance himself from them. It's then when he notices a stranger lurking in the darkness, who swiftly attacks him, making him realize that he's now a participant in a real-life game of Btoon. He notices his attacker's bombs are crackers, which explode upon impact. His bombs are timers. He needs to press the switch, and they explode when the timer reaches 0. He lures his attacker to a trap by leaving the timer bomb at the edge of the cliff before jumping into the water. Later, his blurry vision focuses on a girl who's washing herself nearby. Suddenly, she notices him and starts stumbling backward, overwhelmed with fear at the sight of him. Himiko reminisces about her life as she is rudely awakened by 3 men on an island. The men include a teacher, a fat guy, and a guy wearing a bandana. Although their appearance is intimidating, they assure her that they mean no harm and propose to form an alliance with her. The men begin to argue over who is the strongest and come to a decision that it would be best to make Himiko in charge. While they discuss their next move, they notice a plane dropping supplies in the distance. Upon reaching the site, they discover an abundance of resources including good food, body soap, and even sunscreen. A debate breaks out among the group about the scarcity of the supplies. As tensions rise, the bandana guy impulsively stabs the teacher to death. In a break of trust, Fat Guy and Himiko hatch a plan to run away with the food and the bombs while they have a chance. They make a dash through the forest in the middle of the night, and the Fat Guy's radar indicates that they are being chased by the bandana guy. As they continue running, they manage to evade the bandana guy and eventually make it across a bridge with the help of a poison bomb. Himiko's suspicions about the Fat Guy leads her to punch and tase him. This event triggers a flashback to a traumatic incident from her past where her friends were raped by a band, and she barely managed to escape, leaving her friends behind. The memory of her friends' feelings of helplessness and her own fear of being assaulted again prompt Himiko to defend herself. She uses a bomb to kill the fat guy, who had attempted to rape her. Now, faced with the reality that the game has turned them all into killers, Himiko, having lost trust among all the men on the island, runs away upon catching sight of Ryuta Sakamoto, chasing after her. He realizes that the green crystal embedded in his hands had responded to the sonar pulse that Himiko had sent out. He decides to use the crystal to locate her, but while searching, he comes across another player. The player pleads with Sakamoto not to kill him and convinces him that he too has no idea why they ended up on the island. He reminds Sakamoto of his appearance in the plane, which carried the players of the game. He remembers the man on the screen who explained the rules of the game and the 8 unique BIMs each player was given. On screen, the man continues to explain the purpose of the IC chip embedded in each player's hand. He reveals that the chip serves as a locator and identifier, allowing players to recognize each other. The chip cannot be removed surgically, but it will come out if the player's heart stops. The man goes on to explain the rules of the game. To escape the island, players must collect 8 IC chips. However, there's a catch. One of the 8 chips must belong to the player themselves. Therefore, the player who manages to gather 7 IC chips, excluding their own, will emerge as the winner. The guards on the plane knocked Sakamoto out because of his strong resistance. Later, the players were then given parachutes and forced out of the plane. Sakamoto suspects Tyrannos Japan, the game developers of Btoon, behind this and plans to collect all 7 IC chips to survive the game. As Terra, the player that reminded Sakamoto of his memory, offers his alliance to him, he accepts Terra's offer hesitantly, deciding not to trust him. As they resume their journey, they spot a supply plane and rush towards it, but their efforts are thwarted by a woman who manages to get there first. The woman is killed by a mine, planted by a man with sunglasses, who rushes away with the supply case and the IC chip. Undeterred, Sakamoto and Terra set out to find another supply case. They come across one, but their relief is short-lived as they discover a bloodied child and a headless man next to it. Kirakusuke is a 14-year-old boy who escaped an abusive father. He killed 3 women and then raped them. Suichi Natsu, a lawyer known for his success in obtaining minimal jail time for his clients, to defend him. However, this has frustrated the police, who suspect that Kira is exploiting his age to evade justice. Kira and his father find themselves stranded on an island with Natsume, who disapproves of Kira's hobby of killing frogs for fun. The situation worsens when Kira's father tries to hoard all the supplies that are airdropped onto the island, leading to a conflict between father and son. Kira retaliates by using one of his implosion bombs to kill his own father. Witnessing the gruesome act, Natsume is appalled by Kira's psychopathic behavior and runs away, leaving the two behind. Sakamoto and Tara come across Kira, who boasts about killing his own father. In an attempt to escape, Kira chases the two men, but Tara injures his ankle, forcing Sakamoto to engage Kira in a fight alone. During the struggle, Kira attaches an implode to Sakamoto's bag, causing a distraction. As Sakamoto tries to reason with Kira, he takes advantage of the situation and attacks him with a cracker bomb, leaving Sakamoto with a head injury. Despite the injury, Sakamoto recovers, believing that he is in a game controlled by himself. He uses the tactic of radar blocking to confuse Kira and ultimately knocks him out with a cracker. Sakamoto then ties Kira to a tree and leaves him behind, revealing his name, which excites Kira. After gathering their food, Sakamoto and Tara stop to rest. A revelation to Sakamoto makes it clear that his parents gave him up to the island in exchange for cash. They stumble onto the body of a fat guy who is missing his pants as they continue their search. This discovery prompts Sakamoto to ascend the falls and hunt for any further survivors. Tara gets the fat guy's chip, as Sakamoto detects Himiko using his radar. Himiko discharges a gas bomb that disintegrates anything in its path. Himiko initially uses a cracker bomb to attack Sakamoto, but she manages to defuse it and tells him that they were chosen to be on the island by people they know. Sakamoto fights the need to act inappropriately and clears the area of bombs surrounding Himiko. When Himiko reveals a timer bomb in her skirt, Sakamoto, in an attempt to save their lives, defuses the bomb. Later, Himiko has dinner with Sakamoto and Tara. Himiko reveals that they were chosen for the island by people they know, because her previous pals chose her. Sakamoto discovers his mother nominated him to be placed on the island. A group of Komodo dragons pursue Himiko, Sakamoto, and Tara. Tara moves Himiko to a higher location while Sakamoto goes in search of supplies. Tara engages in combat with the dragons as Sakamoto returns with supplies. The other bombs Sakamoto tests are unsuccessful, but he eventually locates his bombs and throws one at the dragons. Too late to prevent Tara from being bitten, the three make their getaway while Himiko is unconscious. The dragons strike again, and while Sakamoto is preoccupied, Tara flees down the river. Sakamoto feels that Tara betrayed them. They attempt to flee the dragons by climbing a ladder to a building. Tara slips and tumbles, revealing that he has homing bombs as he uses one on the dragon to save Sakamoto. He decides to go head-to-head with the dragons so Sakamoto can lift Himiko up. Sakamoto ascends the ladder by himself and drops a gas bomb into the trees below, where it traps the gas and protects the group. Tyrannos, the game developer company, is keeping a watch on the match, particularly on Sakamoto back in Japan. Himiko refuses to answer Sakamoto's questions concerning their supplies. The radar activates, but neither Tara nor Sakamoto are detected. To chase the intruders away, Sakamoto goes out towards the woods, but his strategy fails when he is ambushed. Miyamoto attacks Sakamoto with a knife. In an attempt to defend himself, he tries to persuade Miyamoto to join forces. Natsume interrupts by throwing a timer bomb at Sakamoto, knocking him to the ground. Sakamoto manages to tase Natsume with a taser gun and flee into the woods. As Sakamoto reunites with Himiko and Tara, he is followed by Miyamoto, who demands back Fat Guy's IC chip and supplies from Himiko. In an effort to persuade Miyamoto to spare them, Sakamoto confesses to knowing of a blind spot in the game. Since he worked as a debugger for Tyrannos Japan, the company Sakamoto suspects to be behind the chaos. Miyamoto, unbothered, takes Himiko captive, leaving Tara injured. Sakamoto discovers Himiko's cell phone and sees a photo of Himiko dressed up as a Type Theta cosplay, his virtual bride. He attempts to rescue Himiko from Miyamoto after becoming convinced that she is his virtual wife. Sakamoto is challenged to a fair fight by Miyamoto, but the fight is not in Sakamoto's favor. Himiko saves him by setting off a gas bomb. Miyamoto tries to take Sakamoto and Himiko down with him, but fails as the timer bomb that Sakamoto obtained from Natsume explodes. The third round has begun. With the best balance yet, the game manager announces. In a flashback, Himiko's classroom is covered in graffiti declaring her a traitor. She refuses to go to school and spends her time playing BTOOM. In the game, Sakamoto tells her that he wants to stay with her. Himiko sobs in response to his support and compassion. Presently, Sakamoto has thoughts of regrets for killing Miyamoto and Natsume, as they are forced to stay at Miyamoto's base. Himiko is scared to sleep alone, and asks Sakamoto why he tried to rescue her. He tells her that the girl from the game brought him happiness and comfort. Asleep, they are interrupted by a woman named Shiki Murasaki, who has one hand. Shiki tells them the story of how she ended up on the island and warns Himiko to trust no man. Former real-life BTOOOM participant Shiki Murasaki is a nurse with 15 years of experience. At her hospital, 6 months prior to the current game, Shiki trusted the doctor, who had been embroiled in a controversy. She changed the evidence to keep him secure, but he abandons her to face the consequences in media frenzy alone. Shortly after, she receives a letter, after which Shiki and the doctor were both sent to the island. They reformed the relationship while living on the island. The doctor, however, turned against her and began throwing homing bombs at her as soon as they had 6 chips. Of course, she wasn't killed, but her left hand was severed. With her chip in hand, the doctor was whisked away on a chopper, mockingly declaring that he would live for both of them. Tara wakes up to find Date, who has wrapped his injured hand in bandages. Completely unaware of his true motive, his intentions are questioned when Sakamoto and Himiko return. Date turns defensive and offers his bomb case to prove his innocence, with the intention of later eliminating the team. 3 supply cases fall, and they rush after one of them. Sakamoto clashes with Oda, while Date misses the case but delivers it to Sakamoto. Kinoshita knocks Himiko out and throws a timer bomb at her, but she wakes up just in time to throw it away. Oda throws Sakamoto into the fire and steals the supplies, but Sakamoto survives and confronts Oda with a bomb, taking him hostage to comply. Oda, on the other hand, has hidden the remote in his mouth, which causes an explosion. The game manager, Ada, and 2 workers watch the conflict between Oda and Sakamoto from the office. Oda places explosives throughout the region and deceives Sakamoto into believing he is standing on top of them. Oda claims the supplies and chips, while Sakamoto survives the explosion. Nevertheless, as he prepares to depart, he recalls that he knows Sakamoto and has even used his given name, Ryuta, to address him. Sakamoto and Oda were formerly close friends, as they were high school classmates. He performed exceptionally well, academically and athletically, making him the greatest student overall. He also exuded a tremendous aura of charisma. Despite this, the two became close and connected over both having single mothers. Eiko, a pupil in Sakamoto's class, was the subject of one of his earlier claims. Oda tried to talk him into doing something, saying that if he stayed on the defensive, he would never succeed in anything. Sakamoto declined, saying he liked things the way they were. Furthermore, it turned out that someone intervened before Sakamoto, and as a result, everyone suffered. Eiko got in touch with Oda and expressed her admiration for him. They eventually get into intimate relationship, causing Sakamoto to go berserk. Date finds some expired medication, but still puts it in a case. When they split up to search, Himiko informs Sakamoto that the case contains a bomb and requires her repeated prodding to throw it away, but fails to do so as the bomb detonates. Himiko alerts Sakamoto to the fact that the case he recovered is rigged, but Date still gives it to him. Shiki informs them in a flashback from before the tragedy that the only location with medicine is the one that Date discovered. After seeing Date hand the case to Sakamoto, Shiki tells Himiko that Date will try to turn against them shortly. Shiki stabs Date with a scythe while Himiko goes to alert Sakamoto. Shiki and Himiko are imprisoned in the building after Date sets detonators there. After Date produces an explosion, Shiki falls and loses control of a cracker while she and Himiko were trying to escape. After losing her only friend since the Judgment Flash incident and her virtual marriage, Himiko lacks the will to fight. Escaping the explosion, Sakamoto grabs a cracker and starts pursuing Date. He guides him into a trap, but Sakamoto has already located and positioned the detonator, setting it off, rendering Date unconscious. Shiki forbids Sakamoto and Himiko from carrying out their murderous plot against Date, while Sakamoto and Himiko devise a strategy to leave the island by stealing chips from other players. Sakamoto and Himiko make their way back to the base. Unable to spot Tara at the base, Sakamoto suspects Tara of betrayal. He hears a buzzing sound of a homing bomb approaching them. Tara has a dream in which his wife Akiko and son Yuzuhiko bribe him with the 7 chips he needed to return home. Presently, Sakamoto notices the first homing bomb following him and attempts to flee, but he trips over pipes and crashes to the ground, deflecting the bomb. He deflects a few more bombs but is injured. Himiko decides to confront the homing bomb head-on to protect Sakamoto. After she covers for the first one, Sakamoto is rescued. Tara then launches another homing bomb, but fails to detonate. Sakamoto noticed this and jumped to his feet in time to deactivate the bomb by grabbing it in midair. He now controls the bomb, but more importantly, he saved Himiko. Sakamoto is depressed and blames himself for Tara's insanity and death. Himiko offers up the chips to Sakamoto, but he doesn't accept them. Himiko confesses to him that she is the Himiko from the game. Eventually, they share a deep, romantic moment with Ryuta promising to leave this island together. Back in Japan,